My head felt as if filled with cement, heavy and swollen. More than half a year ago, I woke from a coma, and a memory that wasn't mine crashed into my mind like a breached dam. My name is Ethan. I'd lived in this world for 23 years, only to be told my life was the plot of a female-dominated melodrama. In that story, I am Sophia's unattainable love, the white moonlight she cherishes but ultimately destroys with her own hands. In the original plot, 3 years earlier, I had rejected her confession, using studying abroad as an excuse. But she didn't give up. To smooth over a family-arranged marriage, she took a contract husband, Leo, as a placeholder. That Leo was my substitute. For the next 3 years, she still messaged me every day, sharing daily life, checking in, pretending to care. I kept our relationship at a polite, ordinary friends level. 6 months later, I would return to the country, and the story would reach its true climax. After I came back, Sophia would be ambiguous with me, sending lavish gifts, luxury cars, expensive watches, bringing me to events, announcing to everyone that I was her man. At the same time, she'd learned that her substitute husband Leo was terminally ill and had little time left. She began to waver, torn between me and Leo. 5 years of companionship had produced nothing but a dog-like dependence. Her youthful infatuation with me would decay under the assault of time and guilt toward Leo. She'd string me along without committing and drag Leo along without divorce. In the original story, I, infuriated by her attitude, went to Leo and harshly mocked and humiliated him. Already gravely ill, Leo was terribly shaken, slipped away from the city, and died alone in a foreign place. Sophia couldn't find him, and only when she received the death notice did she find his tombstone. She went mad. She believed I had hastened Leo's death, that I had killed him. In the end, the love in that woman's eyes turned into knife-deep hatred. She mobilized the Taylor family's power, destroyed my family, and left my body dismembered. The one who told me all this was the figure that appeared in my coma dream. It was an ethereal shadow who said she was the will of my past life's homeland, Blue Star. My child, as blood of Blue Star, you must flourish in this other world. You cannot die. I will awaken your memories and give you a little help. After she spoke, the memories of my previous life fully returned, and I felt a strange change occur in me. I have maxed out your charm stat. Go, use your strength, and survive in this world. Then I woke up. Over the past half year, I had been studying furiously, finishing my coursework early, while contemplating how to break the plot. The Taylor family is powerful. Our Johnsons can't afford to offend them. If I returned and immediately blocked her or rejected her outright, with her obsessive personality, she would surely turn love into hatred and prematurely trigger the destruction arc. So I couldn't be the one to tear the relationship first. My plan was to placate her at first. When she, following the script, started wavering between me and Leo, I would jump out and righteously accuse her of two-timing, call her a total slut. Then I would show extreme disappointment and disgust, and proactively draw a clear boundary with her. That way I would be in the right, and I would be the one to leave. Anyone with any pride wouldn't keep clinging. After Leo died, she'd have no reason left to pin the hatred on me. Having figured all this out, the 6 months of suppressed feelings suddenly lifted. Dragging my suitcase, I boarded the plane home. The plane landed at Jing City Airport. Afternoon sunlight streamed through the window, sharpened my eyes. I took a deep breath and looked at the message Sophia had sent a few minutes earlier. Ethan, has your plane landed? I'll pick you up. Just off the plane, Jing City's air carried that familiar humidity that I dragged my suitcase, and my phone vibrated. The caller ID read Sister. I swiped to answer. Ethan, did you get off the plane? Olivia's brisk voice came through the receiver. Just landed. I was going to pick you up, but the company had an emergency meeting. I couldn't leave. It's fine, sis. I'll just take a taxi home myself. Okay, I transferred some money to your account. Don't worry about work for now. Come home and have some fun. Things back home are way more interesting than abroad right now. When you've had your fill of fun, I'll arrange a position for you at Johnson Group. I smiled. Got it, old maid. After hanging up, a bank text popped up right away. Your account has been credited 200,000 US dollars. That's my sister. Pocket money like that is practical. I put away my phone and headed for the parking lot. After a few steps, I froze. Not far off, a stunning figure stood out in the crowd. A perfectly tailored women's suit outlined flawless curves and gave off a frosty, keep-away aura. Yet cradled in her arms was a large bouquet of tulips, my favorite flowers. Sophia. She saw me too. Her cold expression melted instantly, and her eyes lit up like stars. She waved at me. As expected, the script was playing out exactly the same. I pulled my suitcase over and was about to say hello when a scent rushed over me. Sophia tossed the flowers aside and hugged me tightly, as if trying to squeeze me in her bones. I froze. Passers-by turned to stare, some already pulling out phones. Flashbulbs started popping. I could bet tomorrow's headline in Jing City would be, Taylor Group's female CEO caught passionately kissing mysterious man at airport. Ahem, let's get in the car first. I felt awkward and gently patted her back. She let go and hurried me toward a red Bentley. The door closed, cutting off the outside view. Sophia's eyes instantly reddened. You're finally back. I missed you so much, Ethan. Her voice quivered with tears as she poured out 3 years of longing and torment. She said she looked at my photos every day to fall asleep. The cold, aloof CEO from the original story was right now like a wronged little girl. That acting, she'd be a waste not to get an Oscar. I scoffed inwardly and offered half-hearted reassurances. All right, I'm back, aren't I? She suddenly leaned in and stared into my eyes. Let's have dinner together tonight. I've reserved a table. My mind raced. The first step of the plan had arrived. I can't tonight. My sister wants me home for dinner, a family gathering. I delivered the perfect excuse. Sophia's expression dimmed for a moment, but brightened again instantly. Then tomorrow is okay? Okay. I nodded, keeping things strictly friendly. The car soon pulled up at my villa's gate. I got out to grab my luggage. I'll head back inside first. Sophia got out too and stood in front of me. I thought she was going to say something, but instead she stepped forward and quickly pecked my lips. Warm and soft. I went numb. By the time I reacted, she was blushing and had scurried back into the car like a startled rabbit. The red Bentley roared and whooshed away. I stood there alone, instinctively touching my lips, which still seemed to hold her warmth and scent. This plot wasn't a little off. In the original, she loved me, but it was restrained and controlled. Why was she acting like a lovesick fool now? I couldn't be bothered to think about it. I dragged my luggage and pushed open that familiar front door. A strong aroma of cooking hit me. In the kitchen. Margaret was tying her apron. Hearing the noise, she immediately poked her head out. When she saw me, her face lit up and she wiped her hands on the apron before hurrying over. Back already? Tired? Go sit on the sofa. What do you want to eat? I'll make it for you. I felt a warmth in my chest. Mom, you don't have to go to so much trouble. How about some American-style barbecue ribs and herb-roasted chicken wings? And I didn't hold back and named several dishes in a row. Margaret listened, beaming. I'll make all those. Anything else? I shook my head. That's enough. Enough. If there's more, we won't finish it. That won't do. You're too thin. I'll also stew a cream of mushroom soup for you, to give her brain a boost. With that, she didn't wait for me to answer and turned to dash back into the kitchen. This is home. This is the place I will protect, no matter what. The food was soon laid out, and the aromas filled the air. But my sister, Olivia, hadn't come back yet. Margaret ladled me a bowl of soup. You eat first. Don't wait for her. She's always busy with the company. No sooner had she spoken than the crisp sound of high heels striking the floor came from the front door. My sister Olivia strode in. She took off her trench coat, dressed in sharp professional attire. Her gaze swept over me and lingered for a few seconds. Then she walked straight up behind me. Before I could react, an arm reached around from behind and grabbed my head. My face was instantly enveloped in an astonishing softness and scent. I was almost suffocated. You brat, finally decided to come back? She ruffled my hair, a hint of threat in her tone. If you stay overseas any longer, believe it or not, I'll freeze your card and make you run errands at the company for the rest of your life. The family dinner began in this harmonious yet slightly violent atmosphere. At the table, Margaret and my sister kept piling my plate with food, asking whether life abroad had been good and if anyone had bullied me. I could only pick out the entertaining bits and half-truth them away. I couldn't very well tell them I'm being coveted by a Yandera female CEO with the constant risk of my life and home being destroyed. After dinner, I was about to go back to my room to rest. Ethan. My sister Olivia's voice came from behind, and I stopped. She was leaning against the living room doorframe, arms folded, now wearing a silk robe. Less sharp, more languid. You're not getting any younger. After being abroad so many years, have you found someone who caught your eye? Here it comes, the classic marriage nagging. My heart skipped, but my face stayed impassive. Sister, I'm not thinking about that right now. A slyness flashed in her eyes. Really not? I heard that the eldest miss of the Taylor family has always had feelings for you. A chill ran through me. Of course I couldn't avoid Sophia. No, definitely not. If I ever do, you'll be the first I report to, I promise. My sister seemed to relax, but the playfulness in her eyes deepened. Really no one at all? How come the surveillance at the villa gate showed you, and Sophia, kissing this afternoon? My scalp prickled. Surveillance? How had I forgotten that? She kissed me. I didn't even have time to dodge. I hurriedly denied it 3 times. I'm not involved with her. I never even considered saying yes. My sister suddenly leaned in, filling my face. Her breath brushed my cheek. She stared into my eyes and asked slowly, word by word, really? Her stare made me a little uneasy, but I straightened my neck and put on a serious, sincere expression. Really, absolutely really. I swear. She looked at me for several seconds, then straightened and wore a meaningfully amused smile. Fine, sis believes you. After fleeing in my sister's meaningful smile, the next evening came in the blink of an eye. I had to go to Sophia's appointment. She arrived at my villa on time in that red Bentley. The two of us went to the cinema first. What surprised me was that the huge screening hall had only the two of us. I rented the whole place, Sophia said, handing me a bucket of popcorn with a trace of pride on her face. That way no one will bother us. The movie was a romance, so cliched it made people sleepy. In the dim light, I could feel Sophia beside me watching me instead of the screen. Suddenly, a soft, slightly cool hand reached over, gently covering the back of my hand, then clasped my fingers tightly. I stiffened for a moment, but did not pull away. In the dark, I could see the curve of her mouth lifting. When the movie ended, Sophia pulled me to the most upscale mall in the city. You just returned to the country. You must buy some new clothes, she said as if it were obvious, leading me into a men's store. Then things started to feel wrong. Not only did she pick clothes for me, she picked things for herself too. This shirt looks good. We should each get one. This set of pajamas is a couple style. The fabric is really comfortable. And this cup, see, we could engrave both our initials on it. From clothes to pajamas, from slippers to cups, she seemed intent on turning everything into couples items, as if she wanted to brand me Sophia's. Looking at the shop assistant's ambiguous glances, my scalp tingled. This way of declaring ownership was domineering and direct, making me feel like prey being marked. After splurging in the mall, it was time for dinner. Sophia took me to a Western restaurant she'd reserved in advance. Gentle piano music, flickering candlelight. The romantic atmosphere was just right. The air was thick with subtle intimacy. While waiting for the food, my phone on the table suddenly vibrated and lit up. The caller ID showed 2 characters, Chloe. Sophia glanced at the screen without saying anything, only lifting her cup to take a sip. I instinctively wanted to hang up. Answer it, it's fine, she said, setting the cup down with a calm tone. I had no choice but to slide to accept. A crisp, enthusiastic female voice immediately came through. Ethan, are you back in the country? Yes. Got time to meet up? I'll treat you to a meal. Consider it a welcome back. I glanced at Sophia opposite me. She was elegantly cutting a bread roll, seemingly unconcerned about our call. Maybe, but I'm busy lately. I'll find a time later. Then it's settled. Chloe's tone was intimate. Make sure you contact me, okay? Oh, is there anything special you'd like to eat? Nothing special, just foreign food will do. I'm tired of domestic food. All right, then get back to your work, but remember to contact me. We definitely need to have a meal together. Don't delay too long. I'm afraid I won't have time. Okay, bye. After hanging up, I placed the phone face down on the table. Sophia continued to eat her bread unhurriedly, a faint smile on her face as if she hadn't heard anything. But out of the corner of my eye, where my sight didn't reach, her hand under the table had quietly clenched, her knuckles slightly whitening from the grip. The steak was cut open and the juices flowed across the plate. I forked up a small piece, but it tasted like cardboard. Chloe's call was like a stone thrown into a calm lake. Although Sophia's face held a smile, the air in the restaurant had noticeably cooled. I couldn't wait any longer. It's time to steer the plot where I needed to go. I put down my knife and fork, picked up a napkin, and pretended to daintily wipe the corner of my mouth. Sophia. She looked up. The candlelight danced in her pupils, reflecting me entirely. When are you going to divorce your contract husband, Leo? I asked as casually as if I were inquiring about tomorrow's weather. Sophia paused for half a second as she cut her steak. Then she smiled. That smile was brilliant and dangerous. Whenever, she answered so fast it caught me off guard. She set down her knife and fork, leaned forward slightly, and fixed me with those beautiful eyes. If I get divorced, will you marry me? Boom. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. Where's the script? Where's the anguish? The indecision between me and the stand-in? What is this? Going straight for the nuclear option and forcing marriage right away? I opened my mouth, but my throat felt stuffed with cotton. No words came out. What? The curve of her smile widened, playful. Not willing. I'm done for. This is real trouble. The plan, barely off the ground, had been shut down by a single line. I picked up the wine glass and down a large gulp, tried to numb my failing brain with alcohol. I mumbled two indistinct words so softly I could barely hear myself. I guess I am willing. After all, over the years, you've still been as good as ever. I know how you feel. I forced myself to say the lines I'd rehearsed 1,000 times in my head, stiffly reciting them. I was immature to refuse you before. Now, I think we could be together. After saying that, I felt like I was turning to stone. I stared at her, praying frantically in my heart. Say you need time to think, say you still feel responsible for Leo, but reality slapped me again. Fine. Sophia's reply was crisp, even tinged with barely contained excitement. Then let's be together. She smiled like a cat who'd finally caught a mouse, proud and satisfied. Tomorrow I'll go back and file for the divorce. Ethan, you're not allowed to run away. If you dare be irresponsible, I'll lock you up. She said the last line with a smile, her tone soft as if teasing, but a cold chill ran down my spine. I was completely stunned, completely lost. What kind of runaway crazy plot is this? Wait, I almost leaped out of my chair, my voice cracking. You don't have to rush. We haven't seen each other in years. After all, maybe it's better to take some time to adjust. I forced a smile that was uglier than crying. Sophia's smile dimmed slightly. She studied me like that, making my skin crawl and sweat break out. Just when I thought she was about to blow, she suddenly smiled again. Okay, she actually agreed. Let's do it your way. I instantly exhaled, feeling like I'd been to the brink of death and shoved back. Something's wrong. My mind raced to find where the plot had derailed. It had to be something. Right. In the original plot, she was conflicted because she already knew Leo was gravely ill and dying. That guilt is what caused her hesitation. Could it be she doesn't know now? Yes, that's it. If she finds out about that, her damn saintly heart will kick in and the plot can be forced back on track. I grabbed that idea like a drowning man clutches a last flotation device. Sophia. I cleared my throat and spoke casually as if by accident. I think I've heard some news recently. He's that Leo. It seems he's come down with a serious illness. I watched her face cautiously and dropped the bomb I prepared. I heard he might not have long to live. You should go back and pay him more attention. After all, you're married in name. You ought to give him more money. After I said it, my heart climbed into my throat. Come on, feel guilty. Be torn. Do it according to the script. Damn it. I thought that once I dropped the heavy news of Leo being gravely ill, even if Sophia didn't feel guilty, at least she'd quiet down for a few days. Instead, I hugely underestimated how proactive a lunatic could be. Not only did she not simmer down, she intensified her campaign. In the days that followed, I became her personal accessory. Whenever she had a free moment, she'd show up at my door in that red Bentley. Ethan, let's go out for a bit. Then she'd drag me off, and we'd begin one of her so-called nostalgia tours. She took me to the fried chicken shop we loved in middle school. The storefront had been renovated, the owner changed, but the taste seemed mostly the same. She took me to the bookstore we used to hang out in during high school. She pointed to an old sofa in a corner. You always used to read here and fall asleep while reading. My heart skipped a beat. She even remembered that. She took me to the private restaurant we frequented in college. The landlady still remembered us and joked warmly. The little couple finally came back together again. Sophia smiled with crescent eyes and didn't explain. I could only force an awkward smile on the side. We even returned to the university campus and walked along the tree-lined path. She was like a happy little bird, chattering about stories from our school days. Do you remember when you sprained your ankle playing basketball and I carried you back to the dorm? And that time you skipped class and got caught by the professor. I wrote that 8,000-character self-criticism for you. She told the stories laughing, sunlight bathing her face, making her look impossibly beautiful. I, however, felt like a frog being boiled in warm water, utterly uncomfortable. That day she called me out again. There's a company dinner tonight. Come with me. I wanted to refuse, but her next sentence cut me off. My car's already at your door. At the banquet, amidst perfume and graceful figures, champagne glasses clinked. Sophia brought me before a group of middle-aged men in suits. These are some of the shareholders of our company. Then she took a box from her clutch and handed it to me. A gift for you. I opened it. A car key. I stared at the key with the horse emblem on it, feeling like I was holding a hand grenade. Before I could react, Sophia tapped her champagne glass lightly. The clear sound hushed the entire hall. All eyes turned to us. She linked her arm in mine, wearing an impeccable smile, and her voice carried across the room. Let me formally introduce someone. This is Ethan, my partner. The room fell into a second of stunned silence. Then the shareholders and executives surged forward as if given a signal. Oh my, Miss Taylor and Mr. Johnson really are a match made in heaven. An olive-skinned man crowed, his face full of wrinkles as he insisted on toasting me. Talented man, beautiful woman, well-matched families. I always suspected Mr. Johnson was no ordinary man, another portly executive said, his eyes flicking between me and the car key. Miss Taylor has such sharp taste. We old folks admire that, truly admire. I was surrounded, forced into smiles, feeling like a monkey on display. This wasn't social death. This was a public execution. And it got worse. She even introduced me to her parents. George and Emily sat on the sofa and appraised me from head to toe with scrutinizing eyes. Then they broke into extremely satisfied smiles. George patted my shoulder. Not bad, young man. We'll leave our Sophia to you. Emily took my hand, grinning from ear to ear. From now on, we'll be one family. I felt like a puppet on strings the whole time, manipulated by them. After leaving her house, I sat in the car with my mind blank. I felt trapped in an invisible net, unable to move. Sophia had shown no hesitation because of Leo's serious illness. She was trying to well me to her side for good. This is it. The frog in warming water thing. The water's already boiling. I have to find a way to jump out before I'm completely cooked. I can't live another day in this warm water frog life. After we finished dinner at that private restaurant we often went to in college, night had already draped the whole city. Sophia was in a good mood, still enjoying the landlady's teasing little couple remark. But my heart grew heavier. The longer it dragged on, the more I feared being completely ensnared by her web. I couldn't test her with a confession anymore. If she agreed immediately like last time, there would be no turning back. This time, I planned to be direct. I stopped walking and looked at her. Sophia. She turned back. Her eyes sparkled under the streetlight, full of expectation. I took a deep breath and spoke the words I prepared. I know about the kindness you showed me before and recently. I understand how you feel. I paused, watched her smile slowly bloom, then deliberately snuffed it out. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting so long, but I still feel uneasy about it. After all, you registered your marriage before. Maybe it's better if we just let this go. The air seemed to freeze in that instant. The smile on Sophia's face faded inch by inch, finally turning into a cold darkness. You're rejecting me again? Trying to avoid responsibility, her voice was cold and sharp, like an ice pick stabbing my ear. Is it because of Leo? Because I was married? We were fake married. We didn't even get the marriage certificate. I told you we were nothing. We didn't live together. Her emotions slipped into loss of control, her voice laced with grievance and anger. I forced myself not to look at the hurt in her eyes and spoke sternly. Even if that's true, I still feel really uneasy about it. That sentence was like a bucket of ice water, dousing the last spark in her eyes. Sophia's face darkened into the eerie stillness before a storm. She stared at me without blinking for a full 30 seconds. Then she suddenly spoke, her voice terrifyingly calm. Come with me. I won't go. I reflexively took a step back. Where do you plan to take me? She smiled. There was no warmth in it. Her face even showed a hint of sinister, sickly malice. You know I would do anything for you. She closed in on me step by step. The click of her high heels on the pavement sounded like stamping on my heart. Ethan, don't make me ruin your family's business just because I'm battered and resentful. My pupils constricted abruptly. You don't want to see your family homeless and buried in debts, do you? She leaned close to my ear, her voice as soft as a lover's whisper, but her words were venomous as a snake. Then you'll have no choice but to beg me to take you in. I felt chilled all over. A coldness shot from my soles up to the crown of my head. A lunatic. She was a complete, utter lunatic. The original novel's conflicted heroine who wavered between me and the stand-in was all a disguise. This was her true face. A possessive person so paranoid it bordered on illness. Seeing that crazed yet earnest expression on her face, I was frightened. I had no doubt that if I truly dared to turn and walk away today, she could have my parents' company erased from Jing City by tomorrow. I couldn't gamble with my family. Then come with me, she said, seeing my ashen face. Her tone softened, even taking on a trace of gentleness. I won't do anything to you. I stared at her outstretched hand, stiffened for a long time, and finally gave in. I got into the car with her, my heart ice cold. Before long, the car stopped beside a familiar villa of hers. But she didn't take me into her home. Instead, she walked toward another villa next door. She raised her hand, not to press the doorbell, but to knock with her fist, hard. Bang, bang, bang. The dull knocking sounded particularly harsh in the silent night. Bang, bang, bang. The heavy sounds in the quiet night were like striking my death knell. The door opened. The person who opened it was a man. It was Leo. His face was somewhat pale, his lips colorless, clearly the look of someone long plagued by illness. Sophia didn't even glance at him. Her eyes were fixed on me. Pointing at Leo, she said to me word by word, I told you we don't live together. I never liked him. I've only been waiting for you. Before I could react, she suddenly reached out with both hands and clamped onto the back of my head like iron tongs. I couldn't break free at all. The next second, her lips pressed down hard. This was not a kiss. It was a declaration, a mark, an indisputable possession. In front of the man who was her nominal husband. My mind went blank, completely shut down. After a long while, our lips parted. Sophia's chest rose and fell slightly. She finally dared to lift her gaze. Sophia's chest rose and fell slightly. She finally tore her gaze away and spared a glance for Leo. Sorry, I had a little misunderstanding with him. I had to prove to him that we never lived together, that I was waiting for him. I turned my head stiffly and looked at Leo. I expected to see anger or sadness, at worst numbness. But on his face, there was only an awkward, uneasy embarrassment. He even gave us both a slight bow. I'm the one who obstructed you too. It's my fault. I felt my worldview being repeatedly run over by a steamroller. What is this? Absurdity opening the door for more absurdity. This plot is just outrageously over the top. I grabbed Leo and pulled him into a small, empty room nearby. What's going on? I asked, keeping my anger down. Leo was startled by my movement, looking innocent. Mr. Johnson, you and Miss Taylor are meant for each other. I'm just someone who does things for money. What do you mean? I signed a contract with Miss Taylor. The marriage certificate is fake. We've never lived together. She bought this villa for me and also gave me a large sum of dollars. I just needed to act the part when her parents George and Emily came around. My head was buzzing. Then you being ill, Miss Taylor is a very good person. A trace of gratitude showed on Leo's face. I grew up in an orphanage. The director, like a mother to me, became seriously ill. Miss Taylor paid for the surgery. She saved me. I was completely stunned. In the original story, the devoted substitute who stayed for 5 years and made Sophia feel guilty. Turns out he was just a paid-for tool, and a loyal, grateful employee at that. Just as my worldview was collapsing, Leo's eyes suddenly lit up. He looked at me, full of thanks. Oh, right, Mr. Johnson. I really must thank you. Thank me? I pointed at my nose, utterly bewildered. Yes. He rubbed his hands excitedly. If you hadn't told Miss Taylor that I was seriously ill and wouldn't live long, she wouldn't have so decisively paid the final balance of the contract and even given me a huge sum as an inheritance. That way, after I'm gone, I can leave more money to the orphanage. My director mother won't have to work so hard anymore. He looked at me as if I were a living bodhisattva, his eyes sincere. I felt the world spin. The plot hadn't just deviated. It had blown the hell up. I felt like a fool. I couldn't stay any longer. I shoved him away and ran. Drove home. I needed to be alone. I don't know how I managed to drive home. I pushed the accelerator to the floor. The neon lights outside stretched into blurred bands. My mind buzzed. Leo's grateful face, Sophia's possessive, frenzied kiss, and the poisonous yet tender threats she whispered in my ear. Scene after scene hit me like a heavy hammer, smashing my self-righteous plan to pieces. What substitute, what guilt, what wavering. It was all false. Back home, I flung myself on the sofa, feeling completely drained. The villa was very quiet. My sister Olivia and Mom Margaret were probably asleep. This momentary quiet made me even more anxious. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I sat upright as if electrocuted. The screen showed a message from Sophia. Ethan, where did you go? 4 short characters, yet like an icy hand clamped around my throat. I stared at that line of words for a long time, my fingers trembling as I typed a few characters. I'm home. Sent. Then I began what I thought was cold treatment. For the next 2 days, I shut myself in at home, not leaving the door. Messages and calls from Sophia came like snowflakes. Ethan, are you still angry? There's really nothing between me and Leo, I swear. Can you come out and see me? Let's talk. If you don't reply me again, I'll come to your house to find you. I looked at those messages and my heart tightened in waves. I didn't dare not reply, afraid she would really come banging on my door. So I could only stall with a long pause before replying with an or busy. I thought this would calm her, make her give up. I thought I was putting distance between us, not knowing I was only tightening an invisible rope in her hand. By the 3rd night, I felt like I was going crazy. 2 days and nights of tension and fear had my nerves about to snap. My stomach growled with hunger, so I decided to go out and buy some late-night food. I comforted myself. It's so late, she wouldn't still be outside waiting for me. I changed into inconspicuous clothes, put on a hat and mask, and snuck out. The night wind was cool against my face, clearing my muddled head a bit. I chose a secluded alley toward the 24-hour convenience store on the corner. The streetlights stretched my shadow long, then short. It was very quiet around, only my footsteps and the rustle of wind through leaves. Just as I was about to reach the brightly lit storefront, I relaxed my guard. From behind, a dark figure silently pressed close from the alley shadow. I hadn't had time to turn. A hand suddenly shot out from behind, clamping tightly over my mouth. Another arm, like an iron hoop, locked around my chest and dragged me backward. My pupils contracted. I thrashed wildly, but the strength was enormous. I couldn't budge an inch. A sharp, sweetly cloying chemical smell came through the cloth covering my mouth. Ether. The word flashed through my mind. I tried desperately to hold my breath, kicking wildly with hands and feet, but the smell forcefully invaded my nostrils. My strength drained rapidly, my vision blurred, the world spun. In the second before consciousness plunged into darkness, I had only one thought. That's it. I'd really pissed her off. Awake, time to hunt. Consciousness seemed to claw out of a viscous darkness. The sweet chemical scent still lingered in my nostrils, but it was soon replaced by a more familiar, faintly fragrant smell. It was Sophia's perfume. I snapped my eyes open. The first thing I saw was an ornate crystal chandelier. I moved, then realized cloth bindings gripped my wrists and ankles. I was tied up. Soft fabric strips bound my hands and feet tightly, their other ends fastened to the head and foot of the bed. I was spread out in a big X, completely flattened on this soft bed. I looked around, and my heart sank bit by bit. The room's layout, the familiar decor, I had been here before. This is Sophia's bedroom. So I was tied to her bed. Click! The door was gently pushed open. Sophia, wearing a silk robe, barefoot, walked toward me step by step. Her long hair fell casually over her shoulders. The meticulous daytime makeup was gone, replaced by a kind of breathtaking aggressiveness. There was no anger in those beautiful eyes, only the thrill of a hunter who sees prey trapped and the certainty of a capture. She walked to the bedside and looked down at me, as if admiring a trophy that was about to belong to her. Ethan, you really are naughty. Her voice was soft, with a hint of reproach, yet made the hairs on my arms stand up. How long did you waste my youth? And now you want to run? She spoke as she leaned over, hands bracketing my head. The silky robe slipped, its cool fabric brushing my skin. A pleasant scent surrounded me, but all I felt was suffocating pressure. I panicked and managed to speak, my voice trembling. Forced melons aren't sweet. She laughed, a sickly curve at the corner of her mouth, her gaze cold as ice. Not sweet is fine if it quenches the thirst. If I don't act soon, the melon will get away. She said this as she was about to press down. At that moment, a sharp phone ringtone cut through the seductive, eerie atmosphere in the room. It was the phone I'd left on the nightstand. The screen lit up, the caller ID showing 2 letters, Chloe. Sophia's motion froze. She tilted her head and glanced at the screen. Her perfectly arched brows tightened slightly. She reached out and, without hesitation, hit the decline button. The room fell silent. But 2 seconds later, the ringtone stubbornly rang again, Chloe. Sophia's patience seemed to have worn thin. She snatched up the phone and slid to answer. I didn't even catch what Chloe said on the other end. Sophia was already speaking into the receiver in an extremely impatient, queenly tone. I'm about to take care of something life-changing. Don't ruin my mood. She hung up, then long pressed the power button until the screen went utterly black. The world was finally completely still. She tossed the phone onto the carpet and turned her head. Her gaze locked back on me, those eyes burning with a fire I didn't understand. Good. Now no one will bother us. I don't know how long passed before I came back from the haze. It was morning. Sunlight streamed through the enormous floor-to-ceiling windows and cast bright patches on the expensive carpet. I moved. The binding on my wrists and ankles was gone. In its place was a dull, splitting ache around my waist, as if I had been taken apart and reassembled. Her familiar fragrance still lingered in the air. I propped up my nearly broken body, and the silky duvet slid off me. Then I saw it. On the pure white sheets was a glaring crimson stain, like a plum blossom suddenly blooming on the snow. I froze. My mind went blank. Awake, Sophia's voice came from beside me. She was seated on the single sofa at the bedside, wearing that silk robe. Legs crossed, she held a cup of black tea, looking at me with elegant posture. A lazy satisfaction softened her face, like a predator sated from a good meal. Her eyes radiated absolute control. I looked at her, then at the shocking red stain. My throat was dry. I couldn't form a single word. She set down the teacup, came barefoot to the bed, bent over, and her cool fingers lightly touched my cheek. All right, now you're completely mine. Her voice was soft, but it sounded like chains locking me in. Don't even think about running. I was freezing, my lips trembling, able only to make meaningless sounds. She seemed pleased with my lost, dejected state, and the corner of her mouth lifted in a smile. If you don't take responsibility, I'll make a scene at your house and tell your uncles and aunts, tell my parents George and Emily everything you did to me last night, down to the last detail. Or I could also make the Johnson family's company vanish from Jing City entirely. She leaned into my ear, warm breath on my earlobe, but her words were like poisoned ice. When that happens, where could you go besides begging me? I closed my eyes, all my strength drained away. It's over. She straightened up, her tone returning to that unquestionable calm. Your clothes are in the wardrobe. I had new ones bought. It's the weekend for the next 2 days. The Civil Affairs Bureau is closed, so we can't file the paperwork. She paused, as if announcing an established fact. On Monday, we'll go get our marriage certificate right away. Don't try any tricks, or you know what the consequences will be. I don't know how I put my clothes back on, how I walked out of that bedroom, how I left that villa. The sunlight fell on me with not a shred of warmth. Traffic roared and people shouted all around, but those sounds felt very far away, as if behind a thick pane of glass. I went home, flung myself onto the bed, pulled the blanket over my head, my mind a chaotic mess. The plot. How did the plot go so wrong? Where's the tragic heroine arc I was promised? Where's the indecision between me and the substitute? How did it turn into a manipulative, deranged Yandere with every means at her disposal? I, who knew the story and was supposed to be the player controlling the whole game, have now become a completely trapped piece on her chessboard. It's over. My white moonlight has been utterly ensnared by her. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the third day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster. Hard to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. It's taking too long, Tom said irritably. How much longer until he sells the painting? Don't worry, she soothed him. I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money. You're really pregnant? That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly. Does Annie know the truth? She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help. I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. You don't actually have feelings for George, do you? Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word. Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it. Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. "This is a surprise I prepared for you," I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. "To celebrate the new life we're about to begin." She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. "It's beautiful, thank you." She smiled as she prepared to put it on. "Wait," I stopped her. "Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back?" She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved." She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. "See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace." I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, "After all, this is your final design." Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. "Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light." On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. "The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. "This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it." Mary immediately chimed in. "Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future." I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting." Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, "Mary. This is my wife, Mary." I took her hand and stepped forward. "Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me." She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. "Is she really Mary?" The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. "The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. "That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost." I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. "Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew." The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. "What surprised me even more," I continued, "was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this Mary claims she's already 2 months along." I let go of her hand and took a step back. "So, Who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, But blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached the pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. "Mr. George," a stranger's voice called from behind. "Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared." He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. "And you are?" "I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area," she explained with a smile. "I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit." "Thank you." I nodded. "I'll be leaving soon." She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. "That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive." "It's blood amber," I explained, "a very rare gemstone." "I know," she said softly, "top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare." I looked at her in surprise. "You know a lot about jewelry?" She smiled. "I study jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here." For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. "If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting?" she asked. "My wife," I replied. "She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer." "I'm very sorry," she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. "This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently." She nodded thoughtfully. "Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her." For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. "Sorry, I have to continue my rounds." She glanced at her watch. "See you tomorrow, Mr. George." "See you tomorrow," I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. "Who is this?" The response came quickly. "Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow." Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall, but there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. "Mr. George, thank you for coming." The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. "Did you send the email?" I asked directly. She nodded. "There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me?" We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. "Who are you, really?" The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. "This is a brilliant idea," I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. "This is..." I leaned in to read the label, which said, "In memory, dedicated to teacher Mary." "Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings," Nicole explained. "It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar." I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines, with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. "This is very similar to Mary's final design style," I said softly, "but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style," Nicole explained. "The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development." The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. "New friend?" he asked me quietly. "Mary's student," I explained simply. "Very talented." Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. "Mr. George," Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've always had a question I wanted to ask you." "What is it?" "After you finished The Pursuit, what are you planning to create next?" The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since The Pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. "I haven't decided yet," I answered honestly. "It might take some time to find a new direction." Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. "Maybe," Nicole said softly, "you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further." I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. "You mean creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry?" "Exactly," Nicole said excitedly. "Your paintings create emotion in 2-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the 3-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect." The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, "I have to confess something." I looked at her in confusion. "I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you," she said candidly. "I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion." Her sincerity moved me. "You're already on that path, and you're doing very well." "Then, may I consult you often?" she asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. a cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, "See, I knew you would find a new direction." When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth, not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. "Am I really up to the task?" she asked me in the studio. "You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone," I assured her. "That's exactly what I need." In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. "This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it." At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's all right," I said with a smile. "I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself." Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, "Professor George, may I ask you a personal question?" "What is it?" "When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole." I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes." even though I may never be able to. I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but..." "But what?" "But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. "Don't play dumb, man," Frank said bluntly. "You have feelings for her. That's obvious." "That's just professional rapport," I argued. "Is that so?" Frank looked at me meaningfully. "Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France?" I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. "I know what you're worried about." Frank lowered his voice. "You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you?" I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. "Mary has been gone for 3 years now." Frank gently patted my shoulder. "She would want you to be happy." After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. "Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months." Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. "This experience has meant so much to me." "I should be thanking you," I said sincerely. "Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed." We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. "My flight is the morning after tomorrow," Nicole finally said. "I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other." 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. "Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there." She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. "Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity." "What is it?" "I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works." She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. "I didn't know that," I said in surprise. "I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion." Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. "But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you." I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. "Nicole, please don't respond," she gently interrupted me. "I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life." With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. "Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you." Mary tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. "Professor George?" Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. "I have something to say to you." I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. "She truly was an extraordinary woman," Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. "Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence. No matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, The Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said. Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.